Once upon a time, in a small, bright village, there was a little baby girl named Amarachi. Amarachi was not just any baby, she was very special. Her mother, Olu, carried her in her belly for 11 whole months. That's a lot longer than most mothers carry their babies. Everyone in the village was talking about it, saying, "Wow, that's really long." It was a dark and stormy night when Amarachi decided it was time to say hello to the world. Olu was at home, and the rain was pouring down like it was washing the whole world. The thunder was loud, and the lightning lit up the sky. But inside, Olu was not alone. She had Aoka, a kind midwife, to help her. When Amarachi was born, she was different. She had something very special about her. Amarachi had both male and female private parts, which is not very common. Olu and her husband were scared because they didn't know what this would mean for Amarachi. They loved her so much and wanted her to be happy and safe. So, Olu and her husband whispered to Aoka, "Please, keep this a secret. We'll give you a piece of land if you promise not to tell anyone." Aoka looked at little Amarachi, all tiny and perfect, and nodded. "I promise," she said. "Amarachi's secret is safe with me." And so, Amarachi's life began with a little mystery wrapped around her like a blanket. Everyone in the village waited to see what this special baby, who took so long to come into the world, would grow up to be like. They all hoped she would be happy, and they were excited to watch her grow. In the small, bright village, little Amarachi started to grow up. Everyone noticed how quiet and shy she was. She liked to play near her home and didn't go to the village stream like the other children. When it was time to bathe, Amarachi would find a little spot away from everyone, where no one could see her. Amarachi was also very private about other things, like when she needed to pee. She wouldn't go if there were other people around. Instead, she waited until she could find a quiet place where no one was watching. The other kids thought Amarachi was just being super shy. They whispered, "Amarachi likes to be alone," but they didn't know why. Amarachi had a big secret about how she was born, a bit different from other kids. Her mother and father had asked Aoka, the kind midwife, to keep it a secret, and Amarachi knew she had to keep it too. It was her own special secret, and she was very careful to make sure nobody found out. She was a smart and thoughtful girl, always finding ways to play and be by herself without making the other kids feel bad. Amarachi would smile and wave at them, but she always kept a little space just for herself. Her parents watched her and worried sometimes, but they also felt proud of how well Amarachi was managing everything. They just wanted her to be happy and safe. So, Amarachi became the little secret keeper of the village, with her quiet ways and gentle smiles, holding her special story close to her heart. As the seasons changed and Amarachi grew taller, everyone in the village began to love her more and more. Even though Amarachi was shy and liked her space, she was very kind. Whenever someone needed help, Amarachi was there. If a little bird fell from its nest, Amarachi would gently put it back. If an old lady needed help carrying her basket, Amarachi would quietly come along and carry it for her. Amarachi was also very pretty. Her smile was like sunshine after the rain, and her eyes sparkled like the stars at night. When she walked through the village, wearing her colorful dresses that swayed with the breeze, people would stop and smile, saying, "Look at lovely Amarachi. Isn't she beautiful?" And even though she was shy, she always had a smile for everyone. The children in the village looked up to her. They thought Amarachi was just the best. "She's so nice," they would whisper as they watched her play by herself or help the younger ones with their games. The grown-ups respected her too. She's going to be someone very special, they would say. Everyone felt a warm spot in their hearts for Amarachi. Amarachi felt happy to be loved, but sometimes she also felt a little sad because of her secret. She wished she could play in the stream with the other kids or join in their games without worrying. But she knew she had to be careful. So she found other ways to be part of the village, always gentle and always kind. Her parents watched her growing up so loved and admired by everyone and felt proud and relieved. They knew Amarachi was special, not just because of how she was born, but because of the big heart she carried inside her. Amarachi truly was the beloved of the village, growing up under the watchful and loving eyes of all who knew her. One bright sunny day, something amazing happened in the village. Tari, the most handsome man around, with his bright smile and strong arms, asked Amarachi to marry him. Everyone liked Tari because he was so kind. When Amarachi said yes, everyone in the village was super excited. Their wedding was the biggest party the village had ever seen. There were colorful flowers everywhere, and the drums and dancing lasted all day and night. Amarachi wore a sparkling dress, looking as lovely as the moonlight on the river, and Tari looked so proud standing next to her. All the villagers joined in to celebrate. They enjoyed tasty food and laughed a lot, saying, Amarachi and Tari look perfect together. Amarachi felt so much love from everyone. But inside, Amarachi was really nervous. She loved Tari a lot, but she was scared to tell him a secret about herself, that she was different from other women. Every night, when Tari showed he loved her, in the way husbands and wives do, Amarachi would say, Not yet, my love. Let's wait for the right time. She tried to sound happy, but inside, she was really worried. Tari, who was always so understanding, just smiled and said, I'll wait for you, Amarachi. I love you just the way you are. But Amarachi could tell he was a bit confused, which made her even more scared. She really wanted to tell him her secret. Days turned into weeks, and people in the village began to whisper, wondering why Amarachi and Tari weren't close like other married couples. Amarachi felt everyone watching her, full of questions. She squeezed Tari's hand tighter, wishing she could tell him everything. Tari loved Amarachi deeply, but Amarachi's secret was keeping them apart. She hoped one day they could share everything with each other. For now, though, Amarachi kept smiling, hoping that soon she could be totally honest with her wonderful husband. As the moon waxed and waned, Tari started to feel a bit upset. Every night, Amarachi had a new excuse for saying, Not yet, Tari. Let's wait. Tari really loved Amarachi, but he was getting confused and a little sad. He couldn't understand why Amarachi, who was always smiling and holding his hand, wouldn't get closer to him like other married couples do. One day, Tari couldn't keep his worries to himself anymore. He went to see Amarachi's parents, walking slowly because he was so troubled. I love Amarachi so much, he told them, but I don't understand why she keeps saying we should wait. Is there something I should know? Amarachi's parents exchanged worried looks. They loved both Amarachi and Tari, but had promised to keep Amarachi's big secret. We understand how you feel, Tari, they told him kindly. Please be patient with Amarachi. She has her reasons, and maybe she'll tell you when she's ready. Tari nodded, but he left their house feeling even more uneasy. Feeling really mixed up, Tari went to talk to the village elders next. He hoped they could give him some advice. I'm troubled, he confessed, because Amarachi and I aren't fully husband and wife yet in every way. I respect what she wants, but I also need to understand what's going on. The elders listened seriously and nodded as Tari spoke. But in a small village like theirs, it didn't take long for whispers to start. Soon, everyone was talking. Tari and Amarachi aren't close yet, they whispered. Amarachi won't allow Tari to touch her, let alone make love with her. The whispers grew louder and spread all over the village. Everyone had something to say or guess about it, but they tried to keep their voices down because they all still cared a lot about Amarachi. Amarachi felt the change in how people treated her. With each day, she felt more and more worried as she noticed the curious looks and heard the whispers that stopped when she walked by. Her secret, which she had kept so carefully, now felt like a huge storm about to break over her. Tari, seeing Amarachi becoming more and more distant, felt really torn. He was frustrated because he wanted to be close to her, but he also didn't want to push her away. The happiness they felt on their wedding day seemed so far away now, hidden behind all the quiet talks and worried glances. One warm afternoon, as Amarachi walked through the village, she could feel everyone watching her. The whispers and quiet talking had become too much for her. She needed to share her big secret with someone who would understand. Amarachi decided to go see her friend from childhood, Kachi, who was always kind and gentle. When Amarachi arrived, Kachi gave her a big, warm hug and saw right away that something was wrong. "What's bothering you, Amarachi?" she asked. Amarachi was nervous, and her voice shook a little as she started to talk. "Kachi, I need to tell you something really personal. You have to promise to keep it just between us." Kachi nodded seriously. "You have my promise, Amarachi. What's going on?" Amarachi took a deep breath and told Kachi her secret. She explained she was born different, with both male and female private parts, and how this made it hard to be fully herself with Tari. Kachi listened with a surprised but caring look. "Oh, Amarachi," she whispered, "that's a big secret to carry. But you're still the wonderful Amarachi I know. Your heart is kind and your spirit is strong." Amarachi felt a little better after telling Kachi, like a small weight had been lifted. She hugged Kachi, thankful for her friend's kindness. Leaving Kachi's house, Amarachi felt a bit lighter, but still worried about what might happen next. However, as the day turned to evening, the secret Amarachi shared started to spread. Kachi, feeling overwhelmed by what she'd learned, ended up telling her family. She asked them to keep it a secret, but it was too intriguing not to share. Little by little, the secret moved through the village like wind through leaves. Everyone added their own guesses and thoughts, and soon the whole village was buzzing with the news. "Have you heard about Amarachi?" They whispered by the well and in the market. "She's different. She has both parts." The rumors flew around the village, reaching every corner. Some people felt sorry for Amarachi, others were amazed, and a few looked down on her. Amarachi could feel how people's attitudes toward her had changed. They no longer looked at her the same way. Their eyes were full of questions now. Tari heard the rumors too, and he felt a mix of anger and sadness. He loved Amarachi no matter what, but he felt upset that she hadn't trusted him with her secret. Amarachi's life changed overnight because of the rumors. The girl once loved by everyone in the village was now at the center of gossip and speculation. Her deepest secret shared with the world without her saying it was okay. As time went on, the rumors about Amarachi grew colder and more hurtful. Instead of the usual smiles and friendly hellos, people looked away and whispered as she passed. Amarachi's big secret was out, and it changed how everyone saw her. Respect and admiration turned into something much colder. Tari was really upset too. He felt betrayed because Amarachi hadn't told him a very important truth about herself. He loved her so much, but he was also angry and confused. all the talk around the village made things even harder. One evening, Tari, with a very heavy heart, told Amarachi, "I think you should stay somewhere else for a little while just until things calm down." Amarachi was heartbroken by Tari's words. Their lovely home, once full of happiness and dreams, now felt so empty and cold. She quietly packed up her things and left, slipping away as the evening turned to night. Amarachi found a tiny hidden hut on the edge of the village, surrounded by thick bushes and weeping willow trees. There, she tried to find some peace, away from all the staring and talking. This little hut became her escape, a place where she could be alone with her thoughts. But even in her quiet hideaway, Amarachi felt the sting of being rejected. The happiness she used to feel was gone, replaced by a deeper, sadder kind of wisdom. She spent her days walking alone in the forest, talking to the birds, and finding a little bit of comfort in the sounds of the wind in the leaves. Yet, the loneliness clung to her like fog on the grass. Amarachi, who had been so loved, now felt like a shadow in the village, there, but almost invisible. Being pushed away by her friends and neighbors hurt a lot, because these were the same people she had grown up with. As the seasons changed, the village faced a terrible drought. The green fields turned to dust, crops dried up, and the river that used to bubble happily through the village was barely a slow stream. The villagers watched helplessly as their food supplies got smaller and smaller. Nighttime didn't bring any comfort, but instead brought strange and scary sounds. Shadows seemed to move all by themselves, and eerie cries floated through the air, making even the bravest villagers shiver. Nobody could get a good night's sleep, and a deep fear spread across the village like a dark fog. Feeling desperate, the village elders gathered under the big baobab tree. They were deeply worried and decided to ask the oracle for help. The oracle was a wise person who could talk to the gods. With hopeful hearts, they went to his hut at the edge of the village. In the flickering torchlight and the thick smell of incense, the oracle listened to their worries. After a long, tense pause, he spoke in a deep voice that filled the room. "The gods are angry," he said. "Our world is out of balance. Only a pure and untouched woman can make things right again and bring back the rain and peace." The elders looked at each other, worried. They needed to find someone pure for the sacrifice. But the oracle also hinted that something bad might happen to that person. Desperate, they chose not to tell the villagers this part. When they got back, the elders called everyone to a big meeting around the bonfire. The villagers' faces showed fear and worry as they gathered. Who will take on this huge task? Who will make the sacrifice? They whispered among themselves. They started the search for a virgin maiden who could help, but to their surprise, not even one young girl in the village still holds her virginity. They are all touched and no longer pure. After a long search, the elders called a meeting again and declared they had no solution, and the hardship might continue till the gods decide to smile on them again. But as they talked, someone thought of Amarachi, who once was loved by everyone, but now lived alone. "Amarachi is pure, untouched by any man," said one villager, a flicker of hope in his eyes. "Maybe she's the one the gods want." This idea spread quickly. "Yes, Amarachi could save us all," the villagers agreed, desperate for any solution. With heavy hearts, the elders went to Amarachi's hut. Their torches made spooky shadows as they walked, and the flickering light announced their serious mission. Amarachi, feeling the weight of their visit, let them in. The elders told her about the village's troubles and what the oracle said. They left out the part about the possible danger of the sacrifice. "Amarachi, you've always been special," they said. "Maybe you are meant to do this. Can you help us? Will you be the one to go? Amarachi felt torn between her past pain and her love for the village. Looking at the faces she'd known all her life, she felt strong again, like she used to. With a surprising calm, Amarachi said, I will go. For the village, for everyone, I will go. The elders felt both relieved that she agreed and sad for the heavy burden Amarachi accepted. As they walked back, the path seemed darker and the shadows stretched longer, reflecting the weight of what was to come. As the first light of dawn painted the village in soft hues, a tense silence filled the air. Today was the day of the sacrifice, a moment woven with both hope and fear. The village elders, along with a few chosen villagers, solemnly approached Amarachi's secluded hut. They brought with them sacred items for the offering, fragrant herbs, precious grains, and a small ornately decorated lamb. Amarachi had spent a restless night in contemplation, grappling with the reality of her task. As dawn broke, she emerged in a simple white robe, her face serene and her gaze determined, embodying a quiet strength. The elders bowed their heads in deep respect as they met her. Amarachi, the elder spoke, his voice heavy with emotion. Today, you do what none of us could. You carry our hopes to the sacred cliff, where the earth meets the sky. Amarachi took the bundle of offerings, her voice steady and strong. I am ready. I do this for our future, for all of us, she declared. With the whole village watching, Amarachi began her solemn march. She walked with purpose through the village, past the parched fields, and towards the high cliff, known as the place where mortals could speak to the gods. The villagers followed at a distance, a silent procession honoring her bravery. At the cliff, Amarachi carefully arranged the offerings as she had been taught. Then, she raised her arms and began an ancient chant, her voice echoing the deep fears and hopes of her people. As she called out, the sky darkened and clouds swirled above, responding to her voice. A strong wind whipped around her, making her white robe flutter wildly against the darkening sky. The villagers below watched in a mix of awe and anxiety. Amarachi's chant intensified, rising above the roar of the wind. Suddenly, the wind stopped, and a beam of sunlight pierced through the clouds, bathing her and the offerings in golden light. At that moment, something unseen struck Amarachi, knocking her to the ground. A gasp rose from the crowd, a sound of fear and worry. But before anyone could react, raindrops began to fall, soft at first, then quickly turning into a downpour, signaling that the gods had accepted the sacrifice. Cheers erupted back in the village as the rain continued, a sign of the gods' favor. They danced and embraced, relieved and joyful. Meanwhile, Amarachi slowly came to, feeling the rain wash over her. She felt different, lighter. In disbelief, she realized that her male private part, the source of so much hidden pain, was gone. She was finally whole in the way she had always longed to be. Feeling an immense sense of relief and happiness, Amarachi touched her stomach, finding only the soft fabric of her clothes. Tears rolled down her cheeks, not from pain or sadness, but from a deep feeling of freedom. She turned to the elders and villagers, smiling brightly. It's gone, she announced joyfully. The part of me that brought so much fear. It's gone. The villagers were amazed, and their surprise quickly turned into cheers. The ongoing soft rain seemed to cleanse any remaining doubts or fears, marking a fresh start, not just for Amarachi but for everyone. Supported by the elders, Amarachi walked back towards the village, lighter and freer with every step. Those who had stayed behind saw the change in her and the happiness in her eyes. Soon, the whole village was buzzing. and everyone came to see the woman who had given so much and been transformed by a touch of the divine. Look at her, they shout in amazement. Amarachi has been blessed by the gods. They crowded around her, touching her hands and shoulders as if to make sure she was real, that the miracle had indeed happened. Amarachi addressed everyone, her voice strong despite her recent ordeal. The gods have accepted our offering, she explained. They've given us rain and blessed me with a change that has freed me from my hidden pain. Let's start anew, together, in unity and acceptance. The villagers' eyes welled up with tears of joy and relief. Tari, moved and filled with new understanding, stepped forward and took Amarachi's hands. Amarachi, you are truly amazing. Can you forgive my earlier doubts and impatience? Amarachi, her heart as open as the clear skies above, smiled and hugged Tari. There's nothing to forgive, she whispered. Today, we've both changed. The celebration that night was unlike any other. More than just a feast, it was a celebration of spirit and community. Songs and dances went on into the night as everyone, young and old, celebrated Amarachi's incredible transformation and the rejuvenation of their land. Standing next to Tari, Amarachi felt the community's warmth envelop her like a soft blanket. She knew her life would be different now, filled with new challenges and joys, but she was ready to meet them head on. The gods had given her a gift, and she would honor it by living her truest life, surrounded by a village that had embraced the power of acceptance and love. In the days after Amarachi's incredible transformation, the village buzzed with a renewed sense of unity and joy. The recent rain had not only revived their thirsty land, but had also helped grow a deeper understanding and acceptance among the villagers. Amarachi, who had once been isolated and misunderstood, was now celebrated at the center of the village community, her bravery and resilience shining brightly. Moved deeply by Amarachi's courage and the significant changes she had undergone, Tari approached her with a heart overflowing with love and respect. Standing before the whole village, he proposed to Amarachi once again. This time he fully understood her journey and the true essence of her being. Amarachi, he said, holding her hands tenderly, you have taught us all about strength and sacrifice. I ask not only for your hand in marriage, but also for your forgiveness. I promise to stand by you forever. With tears of happiness in her eyes, Amarachi accepted Tari's proposal. Their second wedding was a splendid celebration of their renewed commitment and the village's support. It was more than just the union of two people. It was a communal celebration of resilience and the victory of acceptance over fear and prejudice. As Amarachi and Tari exchanged their vows beneath the clear blue sky, the villagers gathered around, their faces glowing with happiness. They danced, sang, and recounted tales of Amarachi's bravery, praising her as a hero. Children played joyfully, their laughter mingling with the festive music, while the elders discussed the valuable lessons they had learned about the power of acceptance and unity. Amarachi was honored not only as a hero, but also as a symbol of overcoming fear and emerging stronger. She became a beacon of hope for anyone who felt different or misunderstood, a living proof that personal challenges can lead to collective success. During the celebration, Amarachi paused to observe the faces of her fellow villagers, faces that had once looked at her with suspicion, but now showed pride and warmth. She felt an overwhelming sense of belonging, finally recognized and valued for everything she was. Moral of the story: this tale teaches us that we should never reject or underestimate others, as they may be exactly what we need most. It underscores the idea that helping others often leads to unexpected help in return. illustrating the interconnectedness of community and the power of acceptance. I hope you enjoyed the tale. If so, please like the video, share it with your family and friends, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for more enchanting tales like this one. Goodbye.